Cancelling elections in some areas of the country where reform are gaining momentum is the act of a desperate government. They have the audacity to call us a threat to democracy, whilst they act like third world dictators.
Starmer is getting desperate, and Nigel Farage is furious over his recent actions.
Because everyone is sick of Labour, they'll vote Reform, they'll vote even Tory, they won't vote Labour. Everybody hates Labour because everybody hates Keir Starmer and his crap cabinet. So they're going to be humiliated.
Labour's cronies can't weasel their way out of this absolute betrayal of democracy.
He said British politics now has a uni-party. There is very little to choose between the Labour and Conservative parties. And he genuinely fears that the mother country of the English-speaking world is frankly going down the tubes. And he agrees Britain needs reform. He is right behind me.
Nigel Farage isn't ready to forgive Starmer and has a huge plan in place already.
Some are saying that those local elections due to take place on the 1st of May now simply can't go ahead, particularly for many of those councils that will be undergoing complicated renegotiations. Perhaps these elections will be delayed until the following year. This has caused a huge deal of controversy.
In an absolutely shameful betrayal of the British people, Starmer is cancelling local council elections for up to a year.
Isn't it a coincidence that the Labour Party is now trailing in the polls? Is it a coincidence that some of these elections may now be delayed once the Labour Party has fallen from a 20-point lead to, in some polls, being in literally third place behind the Conservatives and the Reform Party?
How convenient that the insecure Starmer cancels the elections just when the Labour Party is down in the gutter.
Nigel Farage has issued a statement on the possibility of delayed local elections. This is what he said. Cancelling elections in some areas of the country where reform are gaining momentum is the act of a desperate government. They have the audacity to call us a threat to democracy, whilst they act like third world dictators. Nigel Farage there, of course, referring to the words of Harriet Harman over the weekend, saying that reform is a threat to democracy.
Nigel Farage went absolutely ballistic because he knew that Starmer's real game was to sabotage him.
Well, that could delay the rise of certain parties that haven't historically had large representations in local government. It'll be fascinating to see how many more party leaders have words to say about the potential delaying of these votes, the potential knocking back for a year when people can vote in their local elections. Is it, as the old saying goes, democracy delayed becoming democracy denied?
Starmer is behaving like a third world dictator, and Farage isn't the only one who's furious over this idiotic move.
But what we've learnt today is that the Labour Party, a party that has experienced a dramatic collapse in public popularity, have opened the door to delaying local elections for potentially millions of people across England. That, to some, is concerning enough in and of itself.
It's obvious that Starmer doesn't care about our right to vote and is more concerned with keeping his incompetent party in power.
The right to vote is the most precious right in a democracy. We have seen elections delayed before. Famously, in 2020, those local elections were all delayed by a year thanks to COVID. That gave Sadiq Khan an extra year as Mayor of London, although then the next term was curtailed.
This is nothing new, and Labour has been using this disgusting tactic to buy more time for their collapsing party.
We also saw elections delayed over the period of the Second World War. Huge events, pandemics, near pandemics, and global conflict. Some might ask the question, is local government reorganisation really at the level of those election delaying events?
It's nothing but a nonsense excuse that Starmer's using, and his real intentions have been exposed.
Now, everyone accepts that the situation and the patchwork of local government in England in particular, and the UK as a whole, is a mess. You can have Local authorities that are made up of district councils, county councils, unitary authorities, metropolitan unitary authorities, or even your metro mayor combined authorities. You can also have combined authorities without a directly elected metro mayor.
The local councils do need a restructuring, but Starmer and his shameless lot are using this as an excuse to bring down Nigel Farage. Starmer has been getting more audacious, as this isn't the only instance where he has compromised on your rights. This bloke has lost his mind and everyone hates him now.
As well, Russell. So we've got the local elections in May, at which we can confidently predict Labour are going to be humiliated, because everyone is sick of Labour. They'll vote Reform, they'll vote even Tory, they won't vote Labour. Everybody hates Labour because everybody hates Keir Starmer and his crap cabinet.
Everyone in this nation absolutely despises Labour, and especially Starmer. In just a few months, he has managed to bring Britain down to its knees, and all of it was done in the most horrible and incompetent way possible. No wonder Starmer's approval ratings are record low, and Labour is behind in the polls as well. They know that if the elections are held, they'll be humiliated in one of the worst possible ways. This is nothing but Starmer's last-ditch effort to buy more time for his disaster government. He's trying to do everything he can to sabotage Nigel Farage. Meanwhile, Labour is in crisis and they're desperately trying to do damage control.
It's going to cancel a load of the elections and say, oh, well, you know, we're going to redraw the borders of a lot of these council areas, so therefore it wouldn't be worth having these. He's going to cancel the elections so that Labour isn't humiliated in the local polls come May. That's a disgrace. And Nigel Farage is absolutely furious.
What? An utter disgrace. In fact, Starmer and his entire lot have been nothing but a shame for this country. Literally everything they've done has been terrible for us. On top of all that, they're disgusting liars who've broken each and every promise they've made to the British public. Nigel Farage has every right to be outraged over this undemocratic nonsense. Reform UK has been picking up pace, and without a shadow of a doubt, they were going to crush Starmer and Labour in the upcoming elections. The worst part is, Starmer thinks he can get away with doing all of this.
This actually is one of the most serious errors of policy and errors of judgment of all of the errors that Keir Starmer has made, in my opinion, over the last 5 months. And I'm afraid, and I might get castigated for saying this, when you think about what Keir Starmer is doing by way of his approach, it resembles the early 1930s in Germany, on the basis that, first of all, you oppress people. Now, he's oppressing what I would call patriots, people that are worried about Britain and us going to hell in a handcart.
He's behaving like a dictator, and as extreme as it may seem, it's getting more clear by the day. Starmer has gotten away with a lot of things so far, but this won't be one of them. Nigel Farage is cooking up a huge plan to bring down this government, and some very big names have stepped in to support him. Starmer has officially gone too far. He is taking away people's right to vote by cancelling the elections, and the entire country is furious. He can't hide behind his excuses forever. The German analogy may sound extreme, but it makes a lot more sense when you see the details.
Then you start censoring people. In Germany, they burnt books. What we're thinking about doing here as a government, apparently, is to censor social media. And then you take away people's democratic right to protest at the ballot box, because you know that otherwise, if you don't take it away, that you're going to lose power. That is clearly defined in what you just outlined here. Getting rid of local elections on some premise of a devolution white paper being in place. It is to stop Labour councillors losing their seats.
It's all adding up, even if most of us don't want it to. We genuinely gave Starmer a chance, but not only did all of his promises turn out to be lies, he's actively making things worse for himself. By cancelling the elections, he's trying to oppress the people who support Nigel Farage. Moreover, we've seen that Starmer isn't a huge fan of free speech either, and does everything he can to censor the social media platforms. And now, finally, Starmer is showing his true, appalling colours by taking away the common Brits' right to vote. He's so terrified because he knows that the people are done with Labour and two-tier Keir.
This follows, I'm afraid, the Nazi Party's approach of the early 1930s in Berlin.
Well, that's quite a charge.
But it does. It's the same MO. It's the same political MO. I'm not saying they have the same views, but it's the same MO. It's the same process that Adolf Hitler went through in the early 1930s to make sure that he oppressed people and stayed in power forever.
I think I'm going to have to say, Keir Starmer is not here to defend himself.
Prove me wrong.
Against accusations that he's the new Adolf Hitler.
Of course, nobody is calling Starmer a Nazi. Starmer and Labour do not advocate for those views, but the point is that their behaviour is way too similar. Starmer's three-step process of doing everything he can to desperately cling to power is clearly something a dictator would do. Even the people who absolutely despite Starmer gave him the benefit of the doubt and he bottled it. Cancelling the elections isn't the only stupid blunder Starmer has made so far. He's going as far as to sell us off back to Europe.
I certainly don't like his techniques, and he's certainly anti-democratic. He's anti-democratic when it comes to Brexit. He's negotiating away what you voted for, folks. He really, really is. They may not actually rejoin in name, but they will rejoin in all but name, trust me. More than 100 civil servants currently locked in deep talks with the Brussels mob.
You would assume that if the people decide on something, the Prime Minister would respect that decision. We had a referendum and we democratically decided to leave the EU. Now Starmer is undermining that by negotiating idiotic deals with the European Union. He's practically chaining us back to the European Union, and according to Farage, it is an utterly idiotic decision. Of course, this Starmer is too tone deaf to listen to reason, and his immature behaviour is appalling. It's as if we've elected a toddler to run this country. Naturally, Farage is raging over this mess, and he's teaming up with some very high-influence people to get rid of Starmer.
Can we talk about Mar-a-Lago? This historic meeting between Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform. He's now one of our most popular politicians, and the world's richest man who bankrolled Trump's successful campaign to become president, and looks as though he's going to donate around 78 million to Reform, quite aside from the sort of loophole that he would take advantage of in order to do that. What's in it for Elon Musk?
It's been confirmed that history is being made right before our eyes. After Starmer betrayed Britain, Nigel Farage met up with Elon Musk to discuss some very important things. Considering the fact that Elon Musk is the brains behind Trump's major success in the US elections, we might see something very similar in the UK very soon. Of course, the support isn't just in terms of tactics. The world's richest man is allegedly donating a huge amount of money to Reform UK as well. At this rate, especially since billionaires are defecting to Reform already, Starmer is done for.
Not very fond of Keir Starmer. He's been sort of beefing with him on social media for many, many months now. He does seem pretty convinced that this is a uniquely authoritarian Prime Minister, and he's particularly concerned about issues around freedom of speech. Apparently in their discussion at Mar-a-Lago, the Online Safety Act was discussed and what that could mean for his own platform of X. I also think the thing about this 78 million figure, this would be record-breaking in terms of a single donation for British politics. The current record is around 10 million by Lord Sainsbury in 2023 to the Conservative Party.
Musk has a very clear agenda. He hates Keir Starmer and wants to get rid of him as soon as possible. The specific matters that have turned Musk against Starmer are especially related to his authoritarian approach to free speech and countless attempts to censor people on social media. We have actual criminals running free in this country, while Starmer is actively punishing normal citizens for being mean on the internet. Starmer has turned this country into an absolute joke for everyone to laugh at. Believe it or not, Musk is a bigger patriot than Starmer and his cronies. Musk is absolutely dedicated to making sure that Britain is left in safe hands again, which is why he might donate such a record-breaking figure.
Whether he gave Reform money or not, Keir Starmer would not be re-elected. I just cannot be no way that it's been such a disastrous start to this socialist government not doing socialist things. I mean, the winter fuel allowance, you know, what we're seeing here with this pension situation, not even to put up a defence and say, honestly, we're there, we're on your side, we want to do this, but this last lot have literally broken the bank and this is how bad the things are.
Messaging's not working, is
But
it?
as soon as we can, we'll sort this, or whatever.
What's interesting is that Elon Musk and Nigel Farage don't have to do any of this. Starmer has already ruined all possibility of him ever being re-elected, and literally every single demographic in this country despises him. So why is Nigel Farage trying to aggressively destroy what's left of Starmer and the Labour Party? It's simply because Farage is furious over Starmer's attempts to sabotage Reform UK. On top of all that, Starmer's non-stop ruining of this country. Be it the farmers, the pensioner, or the businesses, Starmer has nobody left to support him. Of course, Labour isn't happy about this, and they're throwing temper tantrums like children.
The possibility that he's going to bankroll the Reform Party and Nigel Farage.
Yes, a lot of people were enraged yesterday when Nigel posted a photograph of himself, Nick Handy and Elon Musk in America. And obviously, Elon practically helped Trump win the election. He's a very, very powerful man. He's extremely rich. Those three men together are worth about $500 billion, I believe.
Starmer and his cronies are crying over Farage's new plan. He's holding meetings in America, and they're already plotting on how to put Starmer in his place. And for good reason. Starmer has avoided accountability for far too long, and it's about time that someone should force this delusional softie out of office. Recently, Farage revealed what he discussed with Elon Musk, and you wouldn't believe the details.
He has the platform, he's put his neck on the line, and let's not forget, if Trump had lost, he could have been arrested for election interference. So, yeah, Twitter's really going to help people because so many people are trying to silence people on the right around the West, and he won't let it happen, and that's why I'm very proud of him. Like, those three guys could save the West.
Unlike Starmer, who doesn't have a backbone, Musk and Farage stand up for what they believe in. Elon Musk risked everything in America, and now he's doing the same in Britain. Farage reveals why Musk is willing to go that far for this country, and it's a truly inspiring reason. Without a doubt, Musk has the power that Nigel Farage needs to become the next Prime Minister of the UK, and we just might see that happen.
If there is a desire to donate and solve some of the social issues that face us, could they not just wipe out the debt, for example, facing the NHS?
Of course they could do.
Or solve the problems in our schools. So what is it that you think that Nick Candy or Elon Musk will get
Power
from this? And that doesn't worry you?
It does worry me a little bit. I think once you make a hell of a lot of money in life, for them, they just want power. They want to make change. I believe they have intrinsic satisfaction. They want to make the world a better place.
Nigel Farage and Elon Musk are vastly different from a shameless and tone-deaf man like Starmer. Sure, they all want power, but they're going through the correct process to get it. Meanwhile, Starmer is behaving like an appalling dictator to desperately hold on to his power. It goes to show that Starmer never had any intention to help out the British public and basically fooled us all during the elections. The situation is concerning, and Farage clears out all the speculation in his recent interview. He goes as far as to reveal exactly what his plans are.
The big chat here in Westminster while I've been away is reports of $100 million to your party. Has he pledged any money to... Are you in talks about a deal now?
That 100 million story, I mean, where the Sunday Times got that from, I have no idea. Probably some bloke.
So how much will it be then?
Probably some bloke down the pub.
Nigel Farage lets out all the secrets in this interview, and it turns out that the £100 million donation was massively exaggerated. Of course, that amount is nothing for a guy like Elon Musk, but is there any truth to the story? Farage denies it, but there's speculation that he's keeping it hidden till everything is confirmed and done. The reason he's doing all of this is because Labour is trying everything they can to cause problems for Reform UK. Still, Farage isn't worried about two-tier Keir and his hypocritical bunch. What Farage and Musk really discussed is far more interesting than any donation figure. It's a proper plan to get rid of Starmer.
Two things we talked about. Number one, what really fascinated me were the margins by which Trump won in the 7 key swing states. And the person behind that was, one, Elon Musk. I spent an hour going through with him what his strategy was, how he got new voters registered that weren't on the electoral register, how he used various tech tools to get out the vote on the day. There's some revolutionary stuff here.
Farage is learning from Trump's success, and that might serve him well. He has come up with a plan and a bunch of key strategies that Musk used to ensure Trump's success. Most of this is completely brand new things that we have never seen before, and it worked wonders in America. Maybe that's why Starmer is terrified of the council elections. He knows that with all the support and tactics, Farage would absolutely stomp Labour and humiliate them in front of the whole world.
Copious notes yesterday. I've learnt a huge amount.
And he will help, X will help Reform UK at the election coming up.
He's already given me considerable help.
With targeting voters who can't
Understanding the process from start to finish, reaching disaffected communities who frankly feel there's no point voting for anybody.
The plan is already underway. Farage confirmed that Musk and his social media platform, X, has massively helped the party out. His main goal is not to just gain more popularity, but to reach a new audience. Farage is trying to gain support of the people who don't bother voting, and through this, he can potentially secure a landslide victory. During all of this, Farage drops a few hints on the potential donation that he might be receiving very soon.
Inevitably, given all the press stories, we did discuss money. Now, that's a negotiation we will go back and have again. He is not against giving us money. He hasn't fully decided whether he will. If he does, it wouldn't be anything like the ludicrous telephone numbers quoted in the Sunday Times.
The supposed £100 million donation that Labour is so terrified of might not be happening, but that doesn't mean Farage is getting nothing at all. The only reason Musk hasn't donated yet is because Labour is crying about foreign election interference. Naturally, Farage pointed out the disgusting hypocrisy of Labour to be crying about donations, while Starmer and his cronies continue to fill their pockets with freebies. Despite all this, there's a bigger point to be proven, and Farage is more confident than ever.
This is what Musk said to me. He said, British politics now has a uni party. There is very little to choose between the Labour and Conservative parties. And he genuinely fears that the mother country of the English-speaking world is frankly going down the tubes. And he agrees Britain needs reform. He is right behind me.
Farage is popular among the working class Brits and the newer generation for a reason. It's the same reason why Musk is supporting reform as well, and that's because the political class of the UK has failed the people. There's essentially a difference between the Tories and Labour. They just endlessly bicker on in the House of Commons while the common Brits suffer. Farage is speaking for the people, and the people have had enough of Keir Starmer. The truth is, Musk has a deep-rooted love for Britain and is a bigger patriot than Starmer ever could be. Even Farage is willingly to put aside his differences and help Starmer out, but Sosofty is hard on hearing.
We are potentially going to get caught in the crosshairs of being aligning more closely with the European Union, which in my view is a pretty foolish economic thing to do. All I've said is I would help this government with contacts. It isn't just Trump and JD, half the cabinet I know and are friends of mine.
Farage's offer just shows the difference in maturity and capability between him and Starmer. America is our closest ally, and it's beyond important to form a positive relationship with them. Farage understands this, but Starmer is too tone deaf and stupid to listen to anybody. Donald Trump and Nigel Farage are excellent friends, and Farage has the connections to set up some very important meetings. Sadly, Starmer is too busy being a dictator. Nigel Farage has had enough, and he's calling for accountability. Starmer must take responsibility for his nonsense, and that's something you can help out by liking this video and subscribing to the channel.